Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of, let's say, Movies That Whip. I'm Cooey, joined, as always, by my first mate, Adrielle.
Ahoy.
We're split in command here.
I think, but not today. Not today. I think I am the first mate, and you are the captain, for sure.
I'm the captain now, yeah. It's good to have you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And this will also eventually, maybe slightly later, because I'm not going to mess with the scheduling on our feed, but it's going to make its way also over to the Flashback 64 feed. So McKenna is also here.
Hello.
The other first mate, or if you're listening on the Flashback 64 situation, co-captain.
Hell yeah.
I'll say.
Okay.
Got to get all the ranks right, but yeah, we're here. It's sort of it's taking the place of one of our Trek log episodes on Flashback, but here on Movies That Whip, it's just the movie I picked for the movie that whips, which is Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, and I'm pretty pumped to talk about it, but I'm gonna cut to the chase because I'm worried about how long we could talk about all this stuff. Let's before we get into it, gang, one thing we do on Movies That Whip is before we talk about the movie, we get a little segment where we give some music recommendations.
Yeah.
So it's like
we should name this segment. We should call it
Albums That Whip.
No.
Is that not creative
What about
enough?
like something corner or like anyway, we'll workshop that later.
We'll workshop
We
that.
could have a little
What do you think,
jingle,
McKenna?
you know?
Can you help us with our show?
Yeah. Like if it
Some
music
Corner CD compact corner. A lot of things can be on a CD though.
I know,
like,
that's
we
what
could
I was
be
thinking.
talking.
And we aren't really
We're
listening
actually
on
at,
CDs either.
Well, I am going to eventually do some recs that will be CD based, but we were at the thrift store the other day, and I was thumbing through the CDs, and I picked up a couple. I picked up, what'd I get? I got A Boy Named Goo by the Goo Goo Dolls, and I got Tragic Kingdom by No Doubt. Ooh. But I was thumbing through the CDs, and I pulled out, I was like, this isn't an album, and it was there was Mavis Bacon Teaches Typing 8.
Fuck yeah.
And Math Blaster. So yeah, CD is maybe a little. We'll work on the name.
Yeah, we'll think of something
think,
for this little mini segment we have in here. But yes, here let me pull up my notes here. Well, not that I have notes, but you know my.
I didn't take any notes, but I will. So our 2-pack here. It's based on last episode on Movies That Whip. We watched Young Einstein, and we were inspired by the Australianness to recommend Australian-based music.
Yeah, we did.
Which I don't have space-based music this time, though that would be cool. But your suggestion was Courtney Barnett. The double EP, Sea of Split Peas. And right off the bat, I just want to say I loved the idea of this is 2 EPs put together. And I thought that was hilarious to do. Like, I've seen double vinyl, whatever, multiple CDs or whatever, but a double EP is so... that's a great way to frame your collection, like I've seen EPs collected and stuff like that, but I love being like, yeah, no, this is a double EP.
Yeah,
like
I've never heard of it before, I'll say that.
You buy some albums and they have like the gatefold and like 2 things in them. I would love the idea of buying 2, like a fold out gatefold, like 2 7 inches. Is hilarious to me.
That is really cute. Yeah.
But I loved it. We were jamming I was playing a lot in commutes to work and stuff. Like it's just a good
nice.
It's some good feel good music, I would say. I mean, not all the songs are like feel good songs, but
Yeah.
Like it was nice to listen to.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I love her lyrics are just like totally crazy. They're my favorite part about it. That and her really crazy, obvious Australian accent. Those are two things I really, really enjoy about about listening to her. My old roommate, Tanners, who is her own musician and artist as well, introduced me to Courtney Barnett, and yeah, it felt like, it feels revelatory when I get to hear songs that are like about anything other than like sex and love and loss, or, you know. And so like my favorite song on that album, I think, is Avant Gardener, where it's just about having a panic attack when you're gardening, which is like, or an asthma attack, and that's just what the song is about, which I just think is like so creative and interesting. And yeah, well, cool. I'm glad that you dug it. Yeah, some of her other music is great too. I mean, it's all great, but this is the most I feel like some of the other ones get a little like more slow or like sad. Like they make me kind of sad sometimes. But this album, like by and large, I feel like pretty good listening to.
Yeah, it was somewhat upbeat. Like there were slow sads. Like there was one, I can't remember the name of the song, but definitely a couple songs that got me kind of emotional. But I like the overall, like the sound of it is really good. Like it's very like, I don't want to say stripped down, but like just in some of the guitar tones and stuff like that, I really like albums where like you can tell it's just like one like clean guitar like tone, and it's a little like, I saw like Wikipedia I was just like kind of browsing Wikipedia to like familiarize myself, and they were talking about, I think they might have took a review where they said it was like a mixture of someone said like Bob Dylan meets Pavement or something like that. But the Pavement thing works because like that's another thing where like you can isolate like a specific guitar and it really sounds like, you know, just like someone maybe in the room like plucking on a guitar. You know, it's like, it's the opposite of like big production, which I also like love in some forms. But
yeah, I agree. And they also, there's the next album, which is also really, really great. I forget what it's called, but I'm pulling this up only because at the end of it, there's like a live like it was at Electric Lady. Oh yeah, the album is called Sometimes I Sit and Think and Sometimes I Just Sit. But at the end of the album is like some tracks from this like live session. And those are also just so wonderful, and I think it like really shines with that particular style that they're going for as well. So yeah. Well, I'm glad that you liked it. The one that you recommended to me is somewhat another Australian, but quite different, the opposite in many ways. This was Diesel and Dust by Midnight Oil, which has now just become part of my rotation of like 80s ass music that I listen to all the time. This is like the exact kind of music that I listen to when I'm getting ready to go out, or when I'm just like out and about in New York City. Like it's this exact kind of vibe. I like to kind of evoke a different time in the city when I'm like out and about. So I like to listen to music from not so much the 70s. I'm not like a huge 70s music. Like I haven't found a lot of music from the 70s in particular that I'm like, that I connect with as much. But 80s music, I think, because I grew up listening to a shit ton of like 80s pop and rock and power ballads and shit, because that's what my mom likes to listen to. And so this really like fits right in. And I'm sort of surprised that I don't know if I like had really heard any of their music before. I was like looking, I was like, okay, they have a couple of like hits. Like I think I'd probably heard like The Dead Heart before. I don't know, but I was like, it was so fun to have a album of 80s music that was exactly the genre that I love, that I had never heard before. So I really enjoyed it.
Every song on it is great, I think.
It's all a banger, every single one. I mean, I think that's like, maybe that's part of why it's like, wow, maybe they don't have like a standout song because they're all fucking bangers. But yeah,
Well,
so sick.
I found out about them through, I think their biggest hit like that they ever had. I found out about them through that. It's the opening track, and I think it's because I had seen, and I never really listened to this a ton, but I just had seen a video or something of Night Watchman, Tom Morello, his like folk project that he does by himself, and he with some other like punk bands and stuff covered Beds Are Burning.
Cool.
And that's how I found out about it when I was like a teenager, and I was like, oh, this is like it's like the sick like anthemic kind of banger. So
it is
that
so
led
sick.
me.
I love that song.
Which is like, and it was cool to hear like that sort of, the whole album's like this concept album sort of, and it was cool to like, I don't know a ton about like the specific stuff about like Australian colonialism or whatever, but the album is about like the indigenous people there and stuff like that, and it's definitely this fiery album in that regard. But I think like seeing like Tom Morello covering it was like you can see obviously a lot of the parallels to here. So
Yeah.
And they're still a band, it seems, and like I've gotten more into like watching stuff of other stuff of them, and they actually they have some great stuff where they've like collaborated with like indigenous artists and stuff in Australia, and there's really cool shit I can send to you.
Yes.
But yeah, they're sick, and it has like, it does have like the 80s sound, and it's like it's sort of the opposite of the Courtney Barnett thing, where it's like a lot of big, that was like big drums and stuff, and you've got like a ton of instruments, and like there's like, I love that sort of sound to like on some of the songs. It makes me think of kind of REM, where it's like a rock song, but like it's like acoustic guitar driven, like that happens a lot too. And I like the guy's voice. You can tell like they kind of start, like if you listen to other stuff of theirs, you can tell like they started more as like maybe more of like a punky kind of sound and delivery, but then like they veer into different things. And I love that he has this like weird voice that is maybe meant more for like punk, like not punk, but like more like loud rock, like yelly stuff. But then like hearing him do more like ballads or like these lower songs, and he's just got like a weird voice. It sounds really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I always love hearing. I feel like you hear music because you are I almost said magician. Maybe you're that too. I don't know.
I wish.
Of the many colors and stripes of goo, but but you're a musician, and so I always love hearing your, like you pick up you pick up on things that I'm like, oh right, yeah, that is what I was thinking about and listening and just like passively taking in, which is part of something that's nice about having hobbies like that, like listening to music or whatever, which isn't even a hobby, that's just like a state of being. But like to just sort of not know anything about it at all is sort of some blissful ignorance a little bit, and then when I get to like connect the dots with somebody who knows a little bit more, it's pretty fun. So
I know that same feeling because I know way less in comparison to other people as well. You know what I mean? Like I know
totally.
The same. Yeah. McKenna, you didn't sign up for this sort of segment, but do you have any music recs?
Well, I got a YouTube badge last month for being in the like top 0.5% of Billie Eilish's listeners.
Oh my god, hell
Okay.
yes. That's
true
awesome.
fan here.
Yeah, just listening to her album from last year, which mostly just like Wildflower and Chihiro on repeat, but also the rest of the album, which is, what is it called? What's the actual album
Is
called?
it Hit Me Hard and Soft? Is that the one?
Yeah.
I haven't like
Yeah.
I didn't get as much into that one. I was very, very into Happier Than Ever. And I felt it's funny because Hit Me Hard and Soft was last year, but it felt like Happier Than Ever had just come out. But I guess that's because I just had like a long tail with that album, and so I was like, I'm not ready for a new one yet. But you're inspiring me to like really give it a listen now.
Yeah. It's got some great songs.
Hell yeah!
It's got some classics, I think.
Modern
New
classics.
classics.
Hell
New
yeah.
Billie Eilish classics.
I love Billie
Yeah.
Eilish. My neighbor through the wall, who I have like a whole narrative about them. I'm not going to get into it, but I can hear their life in like a really bizarre, like weird way. And I believe that there was this like teenage girl who then like went to college and left because I like don't hear her anymore. But she went through some deep Billie Eilish phases of her life, and I would hear her like fighting with her boyfriend and then listening to Billie Eilish, and I was like, oh God,
Aw.
girl, I feel you. So awesome.
It's pretty basic of me, but I liked the songs on the album better. I like the Tiny Desk versions better.
I don't know if she
did some
She didn't. What did she do? She did The Greatest.
Birds of a
Birds
Feather.
of a Feather. Yeah.
I like the more, I like that sort of.
Her Tiny Desk
Sound.
was really good.
It was really good.
Yeah, that is like a weird. I don't know why, but the fact that you really like Tiny Desk stuff, Goo, is like really funny to me. I don't know why. You just didn't. I wouldn't have pegged you as like a Tiny Desk gal, but
I like watching people, like the actual visual element of people performing and stuff. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like I could hear the same song, but then see it performed, and it's like it. It's not always better. There's plenty of music that's better because of the way it was like produced or whatever. But there's a lot of types of music that it's like instantly I can connect more if I see like everything that's going into it.
yeah, for sure.
All the people, like humans performing.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
yeah.
It is also something that like my 65-year-old aunt is like, I saw like somebody really famous like Kendrick Lamar like on Tiny Desk. Have you heard of him? Like,
Yeah, that's how I've been.
The vibe of the people I know who are recommending Tiny Desk to me, and then you, which is so that's why it's surprising to me. Okay, Goo, what you got for me?
So I think I had there was like a couple newer things. I was like, oh, I want to listen to this, and this. But then I was putting up some posters here in our new spot, some art, and I had one for like a tour of a band that I was like, oh yeah, I haven't listened to them in like a few years since their last album. And then I checked and I was like, oh no, they had an album come out last year that I didn't listen to, but like I should, because every album of theirs has been like great, like they've never missed basically. And it's this is maybe I'm this is more of a risk, this is one where I feel like it might not go over as well with anyone, but I'm just gonna say it and we're gonna see what happens. But it's the fifth album by the band Thou, which is it's a metal band, and the album is called Umbilical. So
Oh yeah.
and yeah, they are just
This is
a band with
a recent album. It came out last year, you said.
2024, yeah.
Sweet.
And there I can sort of get into what I like. It just hearing that, it sounds like, well, that's weird, but like there's a lot about this band that's like really cool that we can spend more time on in the next
Sweet.
time. Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm stoked to have a metal recommendation because mine is also a metal recommendation, which I have already
What?
told you about before, but I'm like, I haven't really gotten into their new album. It's not new. It's from 2022. I must have just not listened to music over the past 3 years because between
Well, that's another thing too.
this
Yeah.
and Billie Eilish coming out in 2021, I'm like so confused about. Anyway, but this is the band that I recommended to you before, which is Heilung or Heilung. And
Oh,
this
yeah.
is the album Drift. I think that's how you pronounce it. DRIF, 2022. It's their most recent one. And they are a Nordic folk metal band. And
Hell yeah.
I just was listening to the first part of that album, and I was like, they got more bangers. They got more bangers.
That's great.
And I love their shit. And as I mentioned before, I was like, I'm worried about this because they're like Nordic, kind of like evoking like past, like they're evoking like, you know, pagan history in a way that like white supremacists also love to do. And so I was like, oh shit, like what if they're like a white supremacist band? I have since, of course, figured out they are not. And also I had seen them in concert and they had said they did like a land acknowledgement and they were like, fuck Nazis and shit. But I just wanted to make sure because I don't want to be caught with that shit and I don't want to do that. So
Sure.
I just needed to make sure, but we're in the clear and they are not white supremacists.
If you said we're gonna listen to Burzum, I'd be like, oh no.
Yeah, exactly.
Adrielle.
Without knowing, I don't know. So anyway, that's cool. That's my
I'm down.
I'm not sure. Have you listened? If you've listened to that album, then you get to do it again.
Not the album. I've listened to stuff from them you've sent me and
Sweet.
stuff, and we'll get into
Okay.
that. I definitely have thoughts on just that
All right.
folk metal.
Yeah.
Thing. But yeah.
Sweet. Okay.
Okay, sweet.
Onward to the to the real meat of the show.
Let's get into it. Today we are talking about Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, which came out June 4th, 1982, directed by Nicholas Meyer, written by Harv Bennett and Jack B. Sowards. There's more on that I can talk about later, but and also music by James Horner. This is James Horner's first big break, actually, and I think we've probably talked about him on some combination of like every podcast we've ever been on, because I think he's done like all of James Cameron's movies.
Whoa.
He's passed away, but yeah, he's done a shitload of movies. I'm sure some other movies that I don't even know about at the top of my head, but I just want to shout that out because the score in this is amazing. But yeah, so Wrath of Khan, this is a follow-up of sorts. Well, one to the first movie, but also it's picking up from the story of an episode of the original series of Star Trek, which Adrielle, none of us watched it again, which I'm sorry, I think we said we would, but we don't have time to get into this episode. But Adrielle, you saw the movie here for the first time, so one, just what'd you think? But two, what did you think? Or like what's the backstory of Khan in your, like, what did you get from this movie? Did you understand it? And can you tell the people listening what you think his backstory is?
What I think happened.
Yeah.
Based on well, first of all, this movie is it feels like a real departure from a lot of the Trek that we've watched, in that it felt much more violent and like kind of fucked up.
There's a reason for that too, which we can get into.
Right.
But yeah. Sorry. Continue.
So Khan. So I went into it totally blind. I was like, okay, let's pretend that I'm going into the movie theater with my buddies who were like, you got to come with us, and I'm like, I guess I got nothing else going on a Friday in 1982. And so I would have no idea what the backstory was. Totally worked for me. They did the one of my favorite, just classic things to drop lore, which is just a monologue about it, which is Khan being like, Kirk left me on this planet with basically like my family and my crew. Well, with his wife and his crew, ? Basically that he had abandoned them and left them there, presumably for a good reason, because Khan seems fucking evil. But that then now Khan is trying to exact revenge on Kirk for like all of the loss that he has endured as a result of this abandonment on the planet. Now, I know that there's so much more to it than that, but that's really all you need to know for the plot of this film, at least for me.
Okay. No, you got it. Yeah.
Okay,
so
sweet.
do you know, like, because in the original series, when they encounter him, he has like a backstory to that. Like, do you know his like origins?
Well,
I don't know if
I had just watched a little clip that you had sent, which was him at a dinner table with Khan and Captain Kirk and Spock and various other people, and Khan is basically like, on Earth, like he's pro dictatorship, and he was like, that would have been great if like we could have united humanity under like the rule of one person. Ha ha ha. And then Spock is like, that sounds pretty fucking sus. And then Kirk is like, yeah, that's you seem kind of fucked. And then Khan is like, well, you and I are not dissimilar, Captain Kirk. Like, you seem like a really like thoughtful and provocative leader. So yeah, I feel like there were a little bit of vibes like from the episode that we watched. That was like the submarine episode where there was the other leader that they were in this like standoff and they were like shooting at each other, and then he was like, you and I could have been friends, we were a lot alike. I got the same kind of vibe from Khan a little bit, but Khan is like totally unhinged, especially by the time we get to the movie. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. McKenna, is there anything from that story, anything you want to add, like Khan's backstory, like from Space Seed or whatever? Like, I think that basically covers a lot of it.
Yeah, I guess he's like genetically and modified.
Yes.
That's
oh yeah.
which is somewhat important here.
Yes.
It's kind of why he survives, why he ends up surviving.
Yes. So
the
maybe
initial part, yeah.
should we tell Adrielle about that aspect of the Star Trek lore?
Yeah.
Something called the eugenics wars.
Oh God.
Do you want to tell her, or I think it's I want to hear your take on it.
Oh gosh. I guess it's just like a war between the to like kind of eliminate the genetically, is that what it is? They're
basically
trying to eliminate the genetically modified people.
Yeah, so
that have been created.
It's similar to Khan in this episode, and more the episode, like it's that belief that you mentioned, Adrielle. Like they started to believe, like, you know, we should be running stuff. In
the 1990s.
This took place in the 1990s.
Pretty old.
He's a 90s kid. Yeah.
Oh hell yeah.
Well,
that's been something they've had to like. I don't know. They haven't it's not retconned or anything, but like for a while in like books, I think they kind of made it more of a more like covert war, you know. But like that's not really the canon now. Now they've tried to reintroduce
we've
it.
Seen like other shows go to that time period, and they don't seem like.
Yeah, and Voyager, then they go back and hang out with Sarah
this,
Silverman. It's just like normal LA in 1997.
Technologically advanced enough for this.
Yeah. They have in like the newer show, like there was that like teaser in like, was it in Strange New Worlds, where they're like Project Khan when they go to like But anyway, we don't need to get into that. Basically, it happened in the 90s. These guys were eventually, the solution was they shipped them off into space on the USS Botany Bay, which is the name actually of the ship where they sent prisoners to Australia.
Yes, this was also in the movie and this was a big moment where I was like, oh shit, this is important. In real life, in real life, and also in the film, they was like, "Oh, no, we got to get out of here! It's Botany Bay."
So at the conclusion of actually, so a weird thing in Space Seed, McKenna, maybe you can speak to this, is when they're talking about Khan in the scenes he's not in. I remember like Kirk, Spock, and McCoy they have more of this conversation. I think it's a few people. They're like, wow, yeah, he seems terrible, and like Kirk or someone's like, yeah, like I do admire him. He is, his ways are ruthless, but he is like a great man of history. It's like a really weird, like,
whoa.
You're like watching it and you're like, they wouldn't talk about it like this now.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't think. So there's like this sort of weird respect that Kirk has for him. So at the end of the episode, they're like, we got to get rid of you, but I want to give which I understand this. He's like, I want to give you and your people a chance to survive. So we found this planet. You can go live on it and you can survive, and great. But as I think Khan reveals to Chekhov in the movie, they thought like the planet nearby like explodes and it wreaks havoc on their planet. Right. They didn't know about it because they never came back to check on them.
Right.
And so, yeah, he's mad.
Yeah, he's pissed.
Which, yeah. This is an interesting idea because I think I hinted at it before. Like, we rarely, at least for certain periods of Star Trek, I would say pretty much overall, rarely at the end of an episode are they like they solve some problem on some planet and then you never hear from them again, Mm-hmm. Like they go off and they're on some new adventure. So right. I thought that was actually a cool idea to be like, well, what happened after they left?
Yeah. After they tied this up relatively neatly and then cut to like however many years later. How many years later is this than when they were originally dropped off?
Just under 20 years. Like Star Trek was like mid 60s and
no, but I mean in
83.
I guess in the canon of the,
I think it's
supposed to be like
I guess
15
years,
probably the same.
Yeah, so it's around the same time period. Yeah, around
because the actors age in human years, and part of this movie is like one of the themes is like Kirk being older, and all of the strife that comes with like not knowing his purpose anymore and all this stuff. And so it does feel like I was like, this definitely, they were left for a long time, but it could have been 100 years. I have no idea, depending on but it seemed like it was maybe 15 or 20.
McKenna, you're a somewhat new fan. Like, what's your history with the movie? Or what do you think of it?
I think this is just my second time seeing it. Yeah. Both times I've watched it with you.
There you go.
I don't know. I don't remember like in what sequence we watched this.
It was probably something like this.
I don't know if this is part of was this part on your spreadsheet?
I don't know. Maybe. That's what I've been using for this, actually.
Yeah, I guess to mention, like, I knew of Khan from the new Star Trek. Star Trek, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Spoilers, Khan. But they got fucking Benedict Cumberbatch to play this guy in the new one.
Why did they need to bring him back from the dead?
Well, it's horrible. We don't need to get into that, but they treat it as like a reveal in the movie, but like the characters don't know who he is. It's like they recreate when they meet him.
It's weird. Like, I don't think I definitely didn't like catch on to this when I initially saw it before I was familiar with the rest of the Star Trek universe, but like watching it back now, I'm like, this is weird.
It's the dumbest fucking movie ever made.
Which movie
we don't
is
need
that?
to get into it.
Which one is
Star
that?
Trek Into Darkness.
Into
yeah.
Darkness, okay.
It's a spoiler that to know that that's Khan, which is stupid in itself. But
I mean, also,
and we were already.
it's a bit odd because it doesn't matter, but Benedict Cumberbatch looks nothing like this guy, just on its face. They don't look alike.
It's so far. It's
They like really dehumanize his character.
Oh, weird.
they try to like give him again like a tragic backstory, but
He just comes off as like very robotic.
yeah.
In that, yeah.
Ugh, but we can't talk too much about that
Yeah.
movie. We just don't. It's bad. Carol Marcus is in that too, but okay. So this movie, I guess a little bit of backstory because we have kind of like talked about some of the context, but we watched it. We all watched the first movie and talked about it together, and that was commercially successful, but not critically, and so they wanted to make another one, but they didn't want it to be anything like that movie. And there was a bunch of crazy scripts that Gene Roddenberry, I think Gene Roddenberry had maybe written a script that was like Kirk and Spock have to go prevent the Kennedy assassination.
Oh,
was one of
I want to
them,
see
which sounds
that
sick.
one.
But they were basically like, we don't want this guy to be involved with this movie. So they gave Gene Roddenberry like a weird sort of like credit, like executive consult, I don't know, something like that, you know, like, and he basically lost creative control of Star Trek until the Next Generation. Like he was in charge of that, but all the movies after this, and this included, he really isn't involved.
Why is that? Is that I thought that Gene Roddenberry was like beloved, and well, maybe not beloved, but like it was his.
No,
like,
I mean, well, he is, but he's just a very like, he's a complicated figure, you know what I mean? Like in that like he writes. I mean, we've seen even weird stuff. You know, he comes up with these crazy ideas, and this is like they're like, we want this to be like a commercially successful movie, and we talked about, you know, this isn't a factor in this movie, but you know, remember his weird hang-ups about crew conflict and stuff like that. Like he just has like this vision, you know what I mean? And it's like it's not the perfect like commercially successful package, you know. It's like weird sci-fi ideas. Some of them are really amazing, coolest shit you've ever seen. Some are offensive, some are just like weird and bizarre, you know. So they were like, no, we want this to be a hit, you know. So
I see.
This was kind of a sour spot for him for a while, like, and that's why TNG was so important, because he was like, I get back control of my baby a little bit. So
I see. Interesting. Okay.
So then they get Harv Bennett becomes in charge of it, and he comes up with the story. Jack B. Sowards is the guy who does the screenplay. They come up with like all these different screenplays. I'm sorry, this is like way too much information,
I'm interested.
We got to get to the movie. There's like 5 different stories they come up with, and they all have different elements that you see in the movie. Like there's one where it's like there's a Klingon rebellion and Kirk's son is involved. There's one with the Genesis device, I think. Like all these different things, and they're like, okay, what do we do? So they ask Nicholas Meyer to take a look at it, and they send him all these scripts. Nicholas Meyer, we watched an interview with him last night. Mm-hmm. He got big. It was a novelist. He wrote like a bunch of. He's written. It started as a pastiche of Sherlock Holmes, and now he just writes Sherlock Holmes. He still does. Now that it's public domain, he writes Sherlock Holmes novels. That was it's called The 7% Solution was the novel he first wrote, which got adapted into a movie, and it was popular. Then he got to direct a movie, Time After Time, with Malcolm McDowell and Mary Steenburgen, and it's about H.G. Wells hunting Jack the Ripper with a time machine.
Oh, hell yeah.
Anyway, they send him all these different versions of the script, and he comes up with something in like I think a week, and uncredited. He's not credited as a writer, but he puts them all into one. He also, none of these people involved, Nicholas Meyer included, had before getting the job seen like watch Star Trek. Like they weren't fans, which I think maybe actually kind of maybe helped. But they did obviously like review it. So
interesting.
Nicholas Meyer goes back. He's watching. He's like, Star Trek. He said like it doesn't have a villain. So he goes back and he watches all these episodes and he finds Khan and he's like, this is perfect. So he takes all these elements. He takes Khan. He puts in the movie. He realizes, kind of parallel to Gene Roddenberry, also that Star Trek is basically Horatio Hornblower in space, which is the character Kirk was based upon, but he didn't know that. Yeah, it's like I've read one of the books for my old podcast, but it's basically like nautical adventure during the Napoleonic Wars, and it's a swashbuckling captain who goes around, Anyway, he's like, okay, we can do that, and he's like, so yeah, it's got to be like a naval movie, and he says submarines, so he like really like I feel like he had a fresh take on it, but he saw like what would work about making it into a big blockbuster movie, and then that's how he got the job directing it. And so that's my little story about how this all came together.
No, I mean, this is really, really interesting to me because I could tell that it was such a departure from the other ones. I mean, not like it wasn't. It didn't feel like jarring. Like I wasn't like, this is totally like,
no.
They took all these people and then threw them in a completely different situation and they changed all the actors or something. But like it was like quite markedly different than the others in terms of tone and style and violence and the stakes that were, and just the things that were happening with like the sort of body horror shit, and I don't know, it was quite quite different, and a big villain and a big conflict, and like it just was quite different than it many of the other episodes we've seen and the first movie, which to me, like as someone who hasn't seen a bunch of Star Trek, like I find that older style to be more interesting because it's so unique. It's not something that you see very often. I mean, this is much more like a blockbuster, right? Like there's a villain, there's these chases, there's, whiz bang stuff happening. And so I like in that way, I liked like the first movie feels more, in some ways, like more interesting to me because it's just so unique and strange. And like, it's just not it feels very inspired in a way. Whereas this one is just like stone cold classic, you know what I mean? It's like the best parts of all of the different Hollywood versions of this story. So yeah, no, this is it's good. I'm glad to know some of the history about this. So thank you for sharing.
I just think it is important to stress like that the people involved like weren't, I don't know, I think sometimes that can work against it, but they weren't too close to it, and so I think that in ways helped. I think Nicholas Meyer is just a good writer. Like like the script in this movie, even though it was Frankenstein together somewhat, like it's really smart, like, and it flows and everything makes sense, and it's like all the payoffs are good. McKenna, how for you as more you've seen a lot more, like what do you think of the tone of the movie as a Star Trek fan?
It definitely it's like violent conflict based, which is very different from most of Star Trek. It happens occasionally and maybe more in some series than others, but I think for the original series it's a pretty big departure.
Yes, yeah. I'd agree. Yeah, I think this type of the battle, they do battle episodes like we talked about. They had and balance of terror or whatever. But on the show, it's like I feel like that's not. You got to throw that stuff in there, and it's fun to do, but they don't do it too much. So it's not out of the realm of it, but definitely it's not like what people who were regularly watching Star Trek are always coming for.
I think you can tell from the beginning when Chekhov realizes where they are, that like this isn't going to be we're
like
going to
scary
resolve
scene.
this peacefully kind of thing.
Yeah.
He's like terrified. He's like, we gotta get out of here or else we're in trouble.
Yeah, I think that whole scene is so scary. And yeah, when they start putting in like nasty creatures and stuff, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
But I think it does. I think you'd agree. It still maintains things like that people do come to Star Trek for, which is like, good character stuff. Like the writing is good, and they always a thing they do in like Star Trek the show all the time is like weaving it into some other allegory, or like in this movie there are a lot of like literary sort of connections and stuff, which is fun. Which I think might be more of a Nicholas Meyer thing, because I think he's like a book nerd,
A book guy,
kind of. Yeah. So there's some of that sort of stuff, and I think, well, one thing that's interesting is I think the character of Khan itself is what makes it different, because like you said, Star Trek doesn't normally have a villain, and he had to kind of like he pulled a character from like not even one of the more popular episodes. It's like, let's do it. And I mean, the character itself I think is made so much more vibrant by Ricardo Montalban in the role.
He's
even
awesome.
more so than in the episode.
Yeah, he's so good in this. He's just an iconic villain. I mean, I didn't know about him obviously, but I was like, this is iconic now to me. And he's sexy. He's old. He's got his shirt open.
Yeah.
He's kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Crocodile Dundee type of a character. Like
they kind of live on Australia a little bit.
Australia coded a little bit. I mean, not for nothing, but the title of the movie being Wrath of Khan is also, I don't know. It's an interesting title because it, like, presumably, even some of the Star Trek fans or people who had watched it were like, "Who's Khan again?" And so like, oftentimes movies are not like centered on the titles of the movies are not centered on like the villain's character, right? Sometimes it is, right? Yeah. But like, it's called Anastasia, not Rasputin, whatever. So like,
sure.
I don't know why I thought of that, but it's just like, who's a villain? I
like that poll. We respect that.
Yeah, that's Flashback 64 era for sure. Anyway, but I mean, Khan is like the main character of the movie. Basically, he's the titular character. He has the most gravitas. He like steals the show a little bit from Kirk, in my opinion. Like to me, like Kirk is like third chair, like actually after Khan and Spock.
I think that's what works about it though, because it's about kind of Kirk being like,
being
struggling with being
less
on the
relevant.
back foot a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I like that he doesn't really have he has sort of a redemption, sort of a redemption arc or something. He has like an
acceptance in the end.
Yeah.
Which we can, I think
get into that, but
Khan does create a problem for this movie being so successful. Does create a problem for the franchise from time to time, where like it becomes one of the tentpole things. So it becomes like one of the things when they're like, we got to give the piggies their stuff. Like this becomes one of the things they want to reference or like do something that evokes it, So you haven't dealt with this really, Adrielle, but I think McKenna, you can speak to this, how often they're like, okay, we need like a big menacing scenery chewing villain. You know what I mean? Like they come. Wouldn't you say, like, I think that becomes a problem from time to time?
Yeah.
We don't have to list examples or anything, but
I guess when I think of like villains in the Star Trek series, he's probably like one of the only like faces I think of, whereas others are more like
a little more off-brand.
yeah.
Brand. Yeah.
I think that's what made the Borg such a compelling villain, was that it's kind of the opposite. It's not like based on like any specific human emotion. You know, it's not this mustache twirling villain, though via needing to make movies about them, because that becomes the next tentpole thing, that they'll find a way to do that. But we'll get into that
V'ger's
later.
not really a villain, unfortunately. But
Yeah, right.
you could kind of say it's the antagonist in a way.
Yeah, but it's not coming down like quoting Moby Dick to you.
It's not like trying to like actually actively like murder swaths of people to try to avenge their dead wife.
Okay, so you murder. You got me thinking of another way. I think it so it does, because that's a thing Star Trek struggles with. Sometimes it wants to be edgy, and it wants to, feel modern or something. So they'll inject, some violence, some fear or whatever. But I think this movie does that without losing like sort of the structure that Star Trek is based upon. Like, I feel like the deaths are all like felt, because that becomes sort of an issue when it becomes more commonplace sometimes, is like death always needs to be like sold in Star Trek. Every human life I feel like they need that's I think what works in Star Trek. So like there's like an engineer that we barely know, that like we see Scotty mourn, or even the scene where Paul Winfield and Chekhov have their ear slugs, and and Khan tells them to kill Kirk. Like if I said this to you, McKenna, but if they made that now in like a Star Trek thing, Paul Winfield would be like dual wielding, and he'd be like killing like 30 people or whatever. But instead, like, it's this idea of like the presentation of these Starfleet officers. Like it's not even that I don't think he's that close with Kirk, but it's that it is so, him being told like you must kill someone is so like counter to what like they're about, what he's about, that he struggles with it. That he does kill someone, but so much so that he sacrifices himself.
Right.
And then like Chekhov, he has more of like a personal connection, so maybe that's what pushes it over to where he like resists it enough. But I think that still, I don't know, I think that matters in this movie. Or even from the villain side, on Khan's side, you do see some of the people. He's got one guy who's like trying to talk him out of doing a lot of this. I think that stuff's important to the world of Star Trek.
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because I was thinking about that when there's specifically the scene where they go onto Project Genesis, or the place where Project Genesis was, and then all these people were like strung up and like murdered like on the ceiling in like a really crazy way. I was like, whoa, I was not expecting this from Star Trek at all. That, I feel like the it's like whatever, what's his name, the gun, when there's a gun introduced, it will always go off, right? But there's this like threat of violence. Chekhov's gun. Well, that's why I was like, it can't be Chekhov, because we just said Chekhov, and that's a different Chekhov. But anyway,
there's multiple Chekhovs.
I was
for
like,
some reason.
wait a minute. I was like,
when I was young, I just thought it
right.
was the same. I was like, did he have a gun in something?
Just the one guy. Yeah. Anyway, but there's the threat of violence, the credible threat of violence. Also, that's what they say about revolutions in general, right? Is you need to have the credible threat of violence. But that, like, it it's not just that it like raises the stakes or whatever, but like it changes the entire like timbre of the storytelling of Star Trek, because as you said, I mean, like so much like the bedrock of the storytelling is like every life matters. Like this is like killing and like loss of life is something to be like avoided at all costs. You know, that's presumably, I don't know, but it just that seems like maybe is why they didn't kill Khan in the first place, but they just like left him on this planet and like were like good luck out there, you know. And so in that scene in particular, when you see this like I don't know 10 dead bodies, is like that really feels like that's when things start to change. And I to me that was part of why I forget the character's name, the one who you just discussed who sacrifices himself.
I just know the actor.
I know
Paul Winfield.
Yeah, Paul. But like seeing what is possible, like seeing like this is the new state of things. Like we are no longer in a place where human life has dignity or matters, you know. And like that to me was like the credible threat of like becoming someone who can enact like mass killing was like really that's the fear more than like killing Kirk, because as you said, like they didn't seem to have like a terribly close relationship necessarily. So I don't know. And also like at the very beginning, the movie opens with like a scene that is it's a drill, it's a test that then becomes like we then learn more about what this test is.
Do you remember what it's called?
I remember that there's no right answer, but I don't remember what it's called.
McKenna, you want to fill people in on the test? Or you don't remember? Okay.
It's the Koba... Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Kobayaki Maru.
Kobayashi Maru. I'm only surprised you don't remember, only because it becomes a thing again. Another thing that in Star Trek, it's like we have to talk. Everyone is always talking about this fucking test in every version. I'm like, they're running the same test like 200 years later. Like
Kobayashi Maru, baby.
Anyway, yeah. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, the last thing I'll just say about this, but then we could talk about the test because it does have other implications. But the big implication of this was like that this is this is like tonally right from the beginning. Kirk is not here. Somebody else is in charge, and it's like death is imminent. Like that's the that's what the movie is displaying to you, telling us as the watchers right away. And like these are the stakes of this. Even though then of course immediately it's walk back because it's all just a drill and it's not. You know, that's not Kirk is still there, but even though he's not in charge, but whatever. So I think that also, I mean, that's the real Chekhov's gun. You're introduced to this like threat of violence in like the story that's about to be told.
Yes.
So to me, that was like, we are not watching the same kind of, this is not your daddy's Star Trek.
There's a lot of genius things, I think, in this opening scene. But I guess, McKenna, what do you think about the opening scene? What's your takeaway?
Yeah, I guess this is kind of this is a movie about facing death.
Yeah, what's the quote they say in it? It's like not about death. That's how you face. What I don't know.
Well, they say like the test is about how you act in the face of death.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
That's like more important than how you face. Yeah.
Which is like wink, wink.
Poor Ted.
Which is kind of, it's all about Kirk's character and how that's not something he's even willing to face.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He's
I'm gonna cry.
Like never able to accept that might be the only answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
To the point where like they talk about how he did in this test, what his solution was, and he eventually basically says like, oh, I like reprogrammed it, or I like got around it.
Mm-hmm.
So I could win the scenario.
Yeah, he made it so you could do something in it.
Cheats death.
He hacked it.
Right. Yeah, he cheated. That's what the son says.
Yeah.
He cheated, which he did. I mean, but again, it's like sort of
Mm-hmm.
ingenious in its own way, and that's it. Really is such a good encapsulation of like Kirk. It's like that.
And
that really checks out. It's like, yeah, you have not faced death, and it shows. I can tell.
Yeah, and it also it plays into both aspects of him too, because there's that part of him not accepting it, but also just like the way it's read by a lot of people, and I think Kirk himself is like, it's sort of like also why he's like an awesome captain, because we see so often in the movie where he's like, he is on the back foot. We talked about, he gets totally screwed over, but then you find out like he has actually this ingenious way to slip out of it, or like, he kind of pulls the rug out from under you. So I like that, of like, it makes me think again too of the Balance of Terror episode too, of like just like sort of the outsmarting, the back and forth, the cat and mouse game that goes on in the movie. But obviously the character, the emotional aspect of it is more important. But the scene helps set him up in that regard too. And it's just fun. Like, it's fun, like, when it's revealed that it's a test and they're all talking to each other. McCoy's like sassily laying on the ground, like, how'd I do?
Yeah, I know. He's
like,
so
wow,
cute. I love how, and it's cute because it's like, you are an actor, and it's like, how is my acting? It's like so cute.
And so it is a stark tonal difference from the beginning of the first movie, where everyone's like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to, or like, why is Spock being weird to us? Here it's all warmth, like,
yeah.
Spock, and you get these two tender scenes with Spock and then Kirk and McCoy, where they're giving him his birthday gifts.
Yeah.
And I love those parts of the movie.
Where he has his glasses. It's so cute.
His glasses.
Nice to
How
see.
good is that Spock gives him a book, right? And McCoy gives him reading glasses. Like, they complete the package here.
They
it's
sure
like
do.
So
And
it's
they
so
also
good.
give him
And
some weird blue alcohol. Some UV blue or whatever that is.
do you remember what it is?
No.
I want to. Okay.
It's Romulan ale.
It's Romulan ale, which is something they drink quite a bit in Star Trek. Like, that people are always drinking Romulan.
Well,
You've got
I think that in the episode, the clip that you sent me of the, what is it called? The seed, bad seed,
Space Seed.
I think they're drinking some blue shit too. So could be the same.
Probably Romulan ale.
It could be Romulan ale.
They're often, people are always referencing that. That's probably one of the top tier Trek drinks, probably ahead of Klingon blood wine.
Oh my god! I bet there's like a totally unhinged Star Trek cookbook out there. There's probably many of them.
Oh yeah, and in fact, there are. You can buy these drinks.
I have like a couple cookbooks. One of them's like a drink based thing. Of I think it's like the geeky chef or whatever, and I think there's a Romulan ale in there.
I can't
They
tastes
sell
good, but...
at the convention we went to. They were like selling. You could get, there was like 4 different drinks, and you could also buy them as a pack. It was way too much money, but
that's awesome.
It had those, and the Cardassian, was it Kanar or something like that?
Drinking Kanar.
Kanar, that's right.
There's a quote.
We know the stuff. What's the quote?
What's his name? What is his name? Ducat's right hand man.
Okay, this I don't know.
It rhymes, right?
Kanar with Damar.
Damar, that's his name.
Okay.
Kanar and Damar.
Anyway, sorry, Adrielle. This is beyond the scope of today. But I love those little character touches with Spock, and particularly McCoy. I think that scene with McCoy is really good. But I love that they give like Kirk his own literary reference to counter Moby Dick. Tale of Two Cities. What's the deal with Tale of Two Cities?
It's been a long time since I've read it.
What
but
are the
it's,
themes?
Me too.
Yeah, London and Paris are the two cities, and it takes place during the French Revolution. And
So
basically,
are they is Kirk London?
I would, yeah, sort.
I don't know.
I imagine. Yeah,
I'm useless on this one, McKenna. This is all you.
I think the big idea is that like the novel ends with one character sacrificing himself to save others.
It's okay, Dickens, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Well, yeah, that's one where there's some good lines from it. Kirk's line at the end is really good. I feel like, yeah, the more obvious, what's that?
Oh, I was just gonna say this is the it was the best of times. It was the worst of times novel.
That's basically all I know.
That's
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
The more appropriate or the more obvious literary thing is that, I don't know, did Khan like read Moby Dick, or did he like maybe he read it like back in the 90s?
That's
and
what
then
I was
when he
gonna
got
say.
frozen. Like,
It seems
'Cause
like
don't
maybe
you
he
think
read
it-
it in high school in the 90s and then it stuck with him, you know.
is this one of those situations where it's like someone who read the book and misunderstood it, or do you
I
think
am the villain.
yeah, or do you think he's like just like fully embraced the revenge and he's like, I know what I'm doing, like I know this is self-defeating, but I must kill Kirk.
I mean, he's like the antithesis of the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. He's like hell bent on revenge, and he doesn't care that he's going to sacrifice his people.
Right.
Yeah.
So okay, he's all the anti-Spock in that regard. Which they also set that up pretty early, the needs of the many situation. We should also talk about, if we're talking about the opening, that there's also a theme in this. In the opening scene, the commanding officer for the Kobayashi Maru is Savick, played by Kirstie Alley.
Who?
Just a total smoke show, obviously.
Smoke show. That's the most 90s reference. Like, way to say that. That's pretty awesome. Yeah,
I'm sorry for that to be the first thing we talk about her.
I know, but I mean, I love Kirstie Alley anyway, but like, I like when I was like, is that Kirstie Alley? And I texted you and I was like, dang, she's never looked better. She looks so awesome in this movie. She's sort of like miscast a little bit though. Like I mean, she did great, but like she's so emotive just as an actor that like it was weird for her to be like playing a Vulcan. I was like, she like has too much. She can't deadpan it enough, you know?
Okay, yeah.
In my opinion. I mean, she did great because she's a great actor, but like, it was just weird to have her be a Vulcan, I thought.
Yeah, I feel like she does get a little like upset about the Kobayashi Maru results. Yeah, just like seeing that the way she acts next to like Spock is just like much more serious.
Yeah, which is like, he should be the one who's a little bit more,
yeah,
you know. Yeah, I guess so. It's okay. They recast her for the next two movies.
Listen,
so
I loved
maybe...
her. I thought she was great, but she was like, there was like one line at some point where she was like, it's not logical. And just like the way she says it is like, you clearly care. You care about more than logic, you know?
Maybe that's more to show like she's being broken by these people, because Vulcans are like emotional creatures actually.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
maybe it's like,
That's
yeah.
true.
we've never maybe if we saw Spock at this stage of his life, like coming around people and like having to deal with their bullshit for the first time, you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, because I mean, we do see that when he's like in heat or whatever, well, that's not a good way to say
He gets
it, but
horned up.
you know what I mean.
Well, oh yeah.
But yeah, no, but she is awesome, and I loved her, and it was such a surprise. I was like, am I crazy? Is that her?
I
Is that
think
somebody
this
who
might
just
be
looks
her
like
first
She looks
big
awesome.
role.
She does great. I was so happy that it wasn't just like a bit part. Like she plays like a big part in the movie, so I thought it was great.
Yeah, at first I thought, I was like, is this just gonna be about like the old people showing the whippersnappers how it's done type thing? Wait, I mean, there's a bit of that, which I like. It's like she's being mentored, you know, but she has her own parts where she learns from them, and she's like, oh, I see, like I can put my own like spin on things and like inject stuff that's not by the book or whatever, you know. Like I love those moments where she's like, actually the regulation says I'm supposed to come with, you know, and they're like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. Like, you know,
I do love that.
cool.
I love that. Yeah,
and it's cool to see like these people struggling with their age, kind of like working with someone who is like fresh up and coming into it, you know.
Totally. And she's got like she's so like respectful and like really like willing to learn and wants to learn and like loves being, like you can tell she like loves to be around them, and she's not like, I'm the new kid in town, like, you know. She's just like she's like just she's like the exact person that they would want to have around, you know, like young blood, like new ideas, like really excited about stuff, but is still trying to learn from them. Yeah, she was a great character.
Addition.
I really liked
Yes.
that the writing of her character.
Mm-hmm. That made me think of kind of a minor thing, but it just always pops me, is that elevator part.
When she's
Where they're
she's
talking.
wearing like that like weird little kimono. I was like,
Yeah.
huh.
She stops the thing to talk to Kirk, and then it opens up, and McCoy says, who's holding up the damn elevator?
Yeah.
And then he just comes in
I really
like
love
an
McCoy in
ancient
this one.
dude. He goes, did she change her hairstyle?
I loved him in this movie, like especially in this. I mean, I've like really grown to like love him the more not that I didn't, but I didn't totally get him at first. And now I just like really like Spock and McCoy. I mean, obviously they're the dream team, but like they're both so wonderful. He's so funny.
Yeah.
He's so funny in this one, you know?
There really is. I really was stuck on that metaphor of like Spock giving him the book, him giving the glasses, and like they're sort of like these two parts to Kirk. Like they're like the dream team, you know.
Yeah.
Like I love that. Like, and you could see it in the part where like just, you know, his little quips. That's what work about like his little quips and stuff, is that they spell out their character so hard and it fits the moment so good. Like they're funny in the moment, but then when you like, I think about when Spock's like, or whoever, I think it's Spock, right? Says to Kirk like, be careful down there or something, like to him specifically, but Bones is like, we will, you know.
Yeah, I remember that.
I just love those little moments. Yeah.
Yeah.
We also got, there's some other added characters in here. We've got Carol Marcus, Dr. Carol Marcus, and David, who is Kirk's son, and they're working on, this is cool because this is kind of like the most like sci-fi we really get in the movie, you know, like where it's like, okay, this is much different. Like if this was like a naval story, I don't know what this would be necessarily, but they're working on this Genesis device. Maybe it's like a nuclear thing, but it's basically like, well, McKenna, what's the Genesis device?
It's like a planet creator, to put it simply.
It turns
it turns like an inhospitable planet into something that can contain life.
and
But it has to like destroy it like destroys the planet to create a new one.
Yeah,
Which is
in that it like recreates things.
Yeah.
So if you put it on, like, if you could, I guess, have a totally barren planet if you could ever determine that. Like it would be fine. But it has immense destruction capabilities. Because if it was like dropped on us, it would just completely tear everything apart and make something new, right?
It gave me a little bit of Annihilation vibes, which is like one of my favorite books that I was like, you got to read this book. It's not, because it's not that that's not what happens with it. But you're
it's
like
more instantaneous.
Yeah, well, they were like, if they were to drop it on our planet, right? Like if it was a slow burn of the Genesis device, like that's kind of that's what I think of it with Annihilation. It's just like the merging and disruption of like kaleidoscopic life forms. It's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Oh yeah. It's very cool. But yeah, obviously there's more of like the character stuff.
I had a question about that, about the son and the lady. That felt like, I was like, that's the one thing in this movie that I was like, should I know? Is this a reveal or is this not a reveal? I don't know.
It was a reveal, yeah.
So nobody knew this lady or that he had a son before.
I think they probably knew Dr. Marcus, right? Because they all are. Well, they're not. She's a scientist. I don't know if she's like part of Starfleet, but you know what I mean. Like she's a notable scientist. I'm assuming this is all assumption, so I'm gonna assume they probably knew each other. But in that sense.
Fans of the show didn't know her.
Oh no! She was new to the movie.
Gotcha.
And and then the David thing was like a reveal. Though I mean, you can kind of see. I don't know if you could probably see that early on when he's like, "What about that old Boy Scout you used to hang around with or whatever?"
Yeah. I mean, I just thought that was to me the weakest part of the film. I was like, "What are we doing here with this like son?" I don't think that we needed him. I mean, it wasn't bad, but like it seems like kind of a big deal that like there's this woman who like Spock or not Spock, sorry, certainly not Spock. Kirk has had like an affair with, or like was involved with, and then there's a son, and then the son later is like, does he know? I mean, it just didn't feel quite like fleshed out enough. Like that could have been its own movie or own episode in some way, especially because Star Trek in general is so careful with character development, and like a lot of energy is clearly put into developing the relationships and the way that things played out, and that there's a lot of reflection about all of that, whereas this just kind of felt like it wasn't even a plot device, but it felt like because it was not necessary, didn't need to be in there at all. But
I can see that, yeah.
But I don't know. I just thought it was strange. That was the weirdest part of the movie to me. The rest of the movie, I was like, no notes, love it. But this I thought was strange.
It obviously works somewhat as like the plot device, but I feel like character-wise, I think it might be more of a remnant from that being an original concept from like an older script that might be in there still. But I don't know, and well, we can't talk about what happens with that, though you'll find out in the next movie. It doesn't really, honestly, like something happens with David in the next movie that really doesn't matter until like Star Trek 6. So it's like,
wow, okay,
it's kind of like they accidentally made it like worth something.
I see.
Which Nicholas Meyer did 6 as well. So there you go.
I see.
But McKenna David, you got any thoughts on him? He's kind of like a little curly-headed fuck, What a dweeb.
Yeah, I guess I kind of agree. It's like kind of underbaked. I guess it's supposed to reflect more on Kirk and his character. But yeah, he has the conversation at like the end where David encounters him and he's like, "Oh, you've never faced death."
He's proud of him. He's proud of his dad.
Yeah.
He's an adult man, and he's just
Yeah,
proud of
it
his
feels
dad.
like
Yeah.
it almost feels like he exists to like reinsure Kirk of his sense of purpose.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
how I felt watching it entirely. I was like, this is here. He is here as a character to like, close the loop on Kirk's character arc in this film, which I just thought was odd. It's like, yeah,
You could have had that conversation with Bones,
yeah,
right? About Spock or what? Yeah, I think it gives a little bit more. It adds a little bit more to it when they are in the part where they're down there and they're stuck there. That it's like these people that he does have personal connection to, and they do have
Yeah.
stuff to play off of. So I think more so with Carol, like, so I like that part. I like the parts where they're talking down there. But yeah, I don't know. It's whatever.
I did like
I
Carol
guess-
though. She was cool.
She's cool. Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't have any much to add about her. She's like cool scientist. Like,
Yeah, I
You know?
mean, like you could like totally talk forever about their like this. You could really indulge in the scenes, like that. That's Kirk and what's her name, Carol.
Carol, Dr. Marcus. It's
That they
Doctor,
have together because it's like, yeah, I mean, like you said, like that scene when they're down like in the caverns together and it's just the two of them and he's like, I feel really old and tired and worn out. That's like a great scene. It's beautiful. But it feels a bit like it's not loaded enough because I'm like, here's this lady that you clearly have a personal connection with and that's fine. But like you also had a kid and then
He's an adult man.
he's an adult man, but you didn't know about him, and now she's like revealing to you that you had like it just feels like instead he's just like, I feel exhausted. I'm so old. I was like, this is so weird. Why is this written like this? Even though
Yeah.
like the acting was great, the chemistry was really good. It was just
You almost don't
It
really.
was odd.
It goes like the movie's got a bounce to it that it doesn't really like ruin it or anything.
Exactly.
You're
Like
just
it's
okay.
so fast paced, and it's like and like Khan is in every other scene, which is awesome because you're just like, all right, yeah, let's get back to the main character here, which is Khan. But yeah, that was the to me the weakest part of the film was that whole thing with Carol and David.
Some things about being down there. I guess you get the famous Khan yell, which is funny to think about because it's this iconic thing, Kirk yelling Khan in anger, but that like it's funny just because he's bullshitting, like
Yeah.
he's just playing a part, which I always think is fun. That like I don't know, that's just like a fun little tidbit.
The reputation
Khan!
precedes the meme.
They really
Yeah.
sell it because they even just like echo it and they like show the outside of the planet or whatever.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Genesis project is pretty tight. I did really like that was like a start. It wasn't. I mean, Star Trek is so allegorical or whatever, but this was just such a. It felt like real some sci-fi shit here, which was cool. I really liked it, and it plays a big part in the ending as well, which is like, or like I assume that it's like it either is just setting up the next movie, which is in itself like important, or it will play a big part in the movies to come. I'm not sure, but
It's you're right. I think you can sort of pick out some things that will happen in the next movie, maybe, but it's not so obvious. It's interesting. But what about the interior planet that they create with it? That's pretty cool. Okay, maybe that's all it is. It's just kind of sweet. Like,
I mean, it is pretty sweet.
Indoor planet.
Yeah, it's badass. And then I was like, okay, is the movie about to then like are they about to just like live here and like grow old and then like have some sort of weird time loop or some shit? Because I was like, now they like live on this like beautiful rainforest where they can just like be, and they're gonna be like a happy reunited family, and then like Kirstie Alley's gonna like be the heir of their weird little clan, and then it's going to be like a weird con situation all over again. But no, that's not what happened. That's not what happened.
Shit.
I just really was like, wow, this whole thing could like, this is where the movie departs from reality. But it's not
Khan's
what
out there
happened.
wreaking havoc.
Yeah.
I like the little talking in code thing. Like, there's a lot of little moments like that. Savick finding out, like, oh, Spock, you lied. Like, you're not supposed to lie, or just
exaggerated.
Exaggerated, yeah. He was following orders, Little moments like that. I think of, speaking of the reading glasses, earlier on when after Khan took the ship over, the other ship, and they're trying to stall for time so they can get the passcode to like attack his ship or whatever, and Kirk's got his little reading glasses.
I know, it's so cute. I love the reading
and
glasses.
Savik's like, what are you doing? And they're like, we're bending the rules, yeah. I don't know, I love those little moments.
Yeah.
So we get back to our ship. They got time to like, it's kind of like a rousing scene where everyone's getting ready for the next battle, which is fun. They're going around the ship. And then I love this last part where they go into a nebula, which is a thing that happens a lot in Star Trek, where they're like, they've gone into I think, does it come from this? No, probably not. I feel like, don't they do that in Balance of Terror? I don't know. Anyway, it's a thing all the time in Star Trek. Oh, they're hiding in the nebula. Our sensors won't work
like
there.
Asteroid field or something?
Asteroid field.
What
yeah, that does happen.
Or the ring? A planet ring?
Yeah, rings. That's cool. So you have, we like in Balance of Terror, you have like the cloaking device, which is sort of like a submarine thing. But then they have this sort of like, I don't know what it is, like, but they often go into like nebulas and stuff, and the ships are kind of, maybe it's like the night, but they're like, I love that shots of like where they're just kind of like floating aimlessly almost, and they don't know where each other are.
It's so cool. I did love that part. That part was sick.
And the nebula is cool to look at.
Yeah.
It looks so sick.
At space things.
This movie was a big, I can't remember all the details, but I know it was a big like core stepping stone for like special effects. It comes out actually but after Star Wars, but it's before Return of the Jedi, and after, I don't know, it's just in that era where like that stuff was like rapidly advancing,
Yeah, I mean, I could tell that it looked fucking awesome. I was like, this is stepped up. This is stepped up. I can tell, especially during those scenes. And like, I mean, of course, like as we all know, I'm a big sucker for analog effects, and like these were just so fucking cool. It looked incredible, and I would like pause it at one point. I was like, what were they like? How did they do that? It looked awesome. It looked really, really great.
Very cool. They they have all 1-2. They light Khan up. He gets all nasty looking.
Yeah, he gets gnarly.
I love that. Like just the effects on the way he looks is really sweet.
Yeah.
So he's still Moby Dick mode. What does he say? From hell's heart, I stab at thee, or whatever.
It's so awesome. Yeah, he's gone Moby Dick mode for sure, like the whole movie. But this part is like the best. I loved this version of Khan, of him like all fucked up at the end. Like, the last thing I'll do is fucking kill your ass.
He's so good. That makes me think, actually, just stepping back one moment, like one thing I like they do, one of his quotes, he's quoting Moby Dick, but he adds in, like, he's like, I'll chase him around the rings of whatever, he's like saying it in like space terms. I love that when they do that in Star Trek.
Yeah.
Or there's a thing they always do in Star Trek where they'll name like 2 real people and then one fake alien name.
2 truths and a lie.
It happens with the Marcuses, David and Carol, where he's like, you'll be like, who's he? He's like Einstein or Newton or Sirach.
Yeah.
The father of Vulcan logic that we discussed before. So
I loved that. Yeah.
Good shit. Anyway, Khan, his last ditch effort is to set off the Genesis device. The ship can't get away. That's what I love. I feel like you can understand everything that's going in this movie, like, but it's still action packed. Like, it's the right level of like crazy shit going on. But ship can't get away. Scotty's out in engineering. There's radiation leak. But they can't get away. They're not going to get away. They're going to die unless someone fixes it. Spock knocks out McCoy, who stops him.
Before he even goes down, I like that they show Spock's face and he knows immediately what he has to do.
Yes.
Aww.
Spock is a man of action, as
Like,
we learned in the last movie, and this one, like, he knows what he's gonna fucking do.
Mm-hmm.
Spock Trek.
Uh,
What'd you think of this part where
when,
he's like
when he
going
knocks
in
out,
and
when he knocks out McCoy and he's like, remember?
yeah, what'd you think of that? What'd you think of that?
I didn't. Well, at first I was like, this is relevant, but I'm not exactly sure
Yeah.
why. Because I
That's
was like, I
cool.
think I know what's going on, but I was like, maybe this will come. I really liked it because it felt. I don't
Okay,
know, it felt relevant, but I wasn't quite sure why.
You've been on the money again with your predictions here. So do
Okay.
you feel? I want to know: is that like disappointing, or are you like teased? Because I feel like the movie it closes up everything so well, but there is stuff there where it's like, oh, what is gonna happen next?
Yeah.
Do you feel
Well, yes. I mean, I feel like at first I was like, well, this is like maybe the idea is like he knocks him out and then he doesn't want, like, he's about to go sacrifice himself, but no one's going to know about it. And the only person who's going to know is McCoy. And that's why he told him to remember. But then that's, of course, not what happens. So I wasn't quite sure where that stood, but it stood out definitely.
okay? Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, Spock is... I didn't like this part
fixes it.
because it's sad and fucked
It is
up.
sad.
Because it's really sad. But it does, like, it's... Yeah, I do know what the title of the next movie is called, and I feel like we're gonna find it. He's not totally dead, right?
People didn't know at the time. I don't think they knew, actually.
Well, at the movie does open. It allows the possibility that either they would create another sequel where Spock is like regenerated. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I liked it. I like Spock. I was sad. It's fine. It's fine. I didn't like watching it. I wouldn't want to. If I was watching this for a second time, I'd be like, oh, this fucking part.
I was like, I'm not gonna cry this time. Like, I know it's fine.
Yeah, right.
But no, it's good.
It's really
Kirk
good.
and Spock. Yeah. McKenna, any tears for Spock?
Any tears
Not-
for Spock? What a pointed way to ask.
She's like, whoa.
It's like, what, if you say no, then you're heartless.
Not, I know.
Or
I'm
just
like, I
so,
can't
what
just
did you
say
think?
no. It's definitely sad, but then they go right back. A few minutes later, it's like, all right, they have this shot of his body, like the capsule that his body's in, and Kirk is like, I'll have to return.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Which is like, interesting. Mm-hmm. Which I also think is like he sent people off to live on this planet before and did not had no intention to return.
What if it just ended with him, Savick, and McCoy quipping, and then they just fly off like at the end of Star Trek, but now Savick is Spock. All right, fuck that guy.
Yeah, they have like a weird cut to like McCoy making a joke, like looking at the camera. I
love the ending. Well, Kirk gives the little speech, and Scotty plays Amazing Grace on the bagpipes.
Dude, I loved the Amazing Grace on the bagpipes. That was
Then
fucking
James
sick.
Horner was like, we're putting it into the fucking score.
It's so rad. I was like, this fucking owns. It was like so sad and so just so fitting. It's great. I fucking loved it.
I love Kirk, the I feel young part. That's such a satisfying bow on it. And then when they like, it is like, okay, you can see it like, yeah, it is just like, oh, they're setting up a sequel, but I feel like they give it such weight. The music is playing, it's so epic. They go down to the planet, and it's all like, it looks like Jurassic Park or something, you know what I mean? Like these
Sure
epic
does.
shots of the scenery, and then you end on the thing. Then we go to space, and we hear the intro, but said by Leonard Nimoy.
I know.
And it makes it feel like is Spock, is his like essence just like in the universe, you know what I mean? Like, that's because when the Genesis thing goes off, like you see, like, there's almost like bright visual shockwave, or you know what I mean, like patterns coming out. So I just imagine like spreading the ashes almost, even though his body's in that thing, like spreading his consciousness. That's what I started getting like, whoa, about
I mean,
it.
especially after the first movie with V'ger and this like weird collective consciousness, and then when Spock has, which is probably my favorite scene of all of the Star Trek that I've ever watched, is when Spock is like communing with V'ger and is like, oh shit, it is like getting this like crazy psychedelic overload. But I was thinking of that too. I was like, man, Spock is not just gone. He may be gone bodily, physically, but he's not gone,
Mm-hmm.
But he might come back bodily as well. So I don't know.
Yes, but I think you'll see. I think it's done in a very interesting way. Spock is not just. You'll see.
Hell yeah.
And Leonard Nimoy. I want to do next time we do a movie one. I think we'll do a double feature. Both the movies are, but there's so many of these movies and stuff. I think we can handle it, and it can be a reasonable length. But both of it's a good pairing. Both of them pick up right from this and then right from each other. Leonard Nimoy directs both of those movies, so I feel like there's connective tissue there. And Star Trek 4 is the best Star Trek movie in my opinion. It is the most like an episode of Star Trek, I think. McKenna cannot confirm, but
that's is that Wales?
Hold on.
Sorry.
Don't say anything.
Should I take out my
Does that
headphones?
say anything? Can I does that spoil things?
I was gonna say it doesn't spoil anything.
That's the right one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
whales
okay.
are involved.
Wait,
okay,
it could be
yeah.
well, it could be a whale, it could be a name, it could be a country. I don't really know what that means. So
Whales.
It could be
yeah,
whaling,
yeah.
like
the Welsh are
WAIL.
involved.
Yeah. So it doesn't give anything away.
So that's the movie. I guess we should shout out the rest of the cast, because they got Chekhov, Uhura, Scotty, they all got their little moments, Sulu, but it wasn't quite an ensemble movie, but neither was the last one. And they didn't often have big parts of the movie. I did like seeing Chekhov kind of on his own ship. That was fun.
Yeah.
Actually, that's another thing. Part 4 is an ensemble movie, but we'll get into that. But I just wanted to shout them all out. They were all great in this movie, but obviously, like, they took kind of a sideline to some of the story there. But I don't think they would have complained at the time. I think it was kind of what they were doing. Anything else we want to say about the movie, McKenna? Any other thoughts? I'm sure we could talk forever about the movie, but
yeah, I think we got it all.
we got
it. Well, yeah.
Pretty
I
definitive.
I loved this flick. It's so hard to compare to the first one, even though it's like a direct comparison. It's a direct sequel, really. But it's just so different, and I really appreciated that, actually, because I could just sort of keep them both close to my heart in different ways, But yeah, It was great. It was great. I mean, I texted you right away. I was like, I have to watch the third and fourth one now. I have to. I
It's
need
gonna
to
be
know what
great.
happens. So, yeah, we should do that. We can do it whenever, but I'm ready. I'm ready. I'll watch them today. So,
Oh my god. We'll get to him. We'll get to him. What?
Nice.
Actually, should I? I guess this is partially flashback 64, right? I should have said like I should have prepared like what's coming next in the Trek sphere of things. But I feel like it'll be fun to break it up and go back because we've been away from our people in the next generation. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. We've been missing our guys, Data, Worf, Picard.
I was trying to think of like a lesser lol. You know?
Oh yeah, lol.
Lol. Oh.
I mean,
okay.
I would love to return to the next generation as well.
So let's do that. We'll definitely get these movies in sooner than later because we kind of have to. But, I did that last series of episodes because I wanted to set up for some like Romulan-based things. But then I had that realization of like, oh, we should talk about the Prime Directive. Like I mentioned that in the last episode, and so there's TOS episodes about it. But I thought let's just focus on how our friends on the Enterprise, how Captain Picard deals with the Prime Directive. So we're gonna do that. I'll let you know. We have a pack of episodes coming. The first one actually doesn't. I can explain it later. It's actually there's no other place to put this episode, and it's like a really weird season 1 episode that is like unlike anything really in TNG, and so it'll bookend, I think, with the final episode a little bit, but not really.
Hell yeah.
So anyway, what's coming is 3 Prime Directive episodes and 1 just fucking weird sort of thing. So get ready for that.
I love that. Okay, great. So this is less character based and more theme protocol based.
Yeah, like moral questions.
Love it.
How do we deal with what it says we're supposed to do versus what we think is the right thing to do, if that makes sense. Like questioning our principles. So
sorry,
yeah.
one last thing I was going to say about this Kirk
oh sure
issue with like the Kobayashi Maru test. It reminded me a little bit my dear friend GB, who has a crush on Data. She like famously to me, because this was one of the first things that we talked about ever, she was like, I hate that false dilemma of like, well, what would you do? Would you like save a kid from like a train track, or would you like let the train track like kill 20 people or whatever? And she's like, I'm not answering that question. It's not happening. Like it's not not a question. It's not a dilemma that I have to face. And I was thinking about her when I was watching this, and I was like, well, it's not exactly the same. But I was like, have you seen have you watched Wrath of Khan? And she's like, I did one time a long time ago with my ex-boyfriend. And I was like, I feel like we should revisit that with you a little bit.
Okay. So that's perfect, because we will be watching episodes that are sort of like like trolley problems or no, it's not that actually.
The trolley problem. Similar. Right, yeah.
It's similar to that sort of thing, but on movies that whip, we got episodes coming up too. So what are we watching next, Adrielle?
Correct. Okay, so this is a film that I'd never heard of, and I saw that it was playing. It's like being remastered or something, and it's playing at my local theater. And I looked it up, and I was like, for some reason, I really like stoked on this film, and it looks fun to me. And perhaps you've heard of it. I believe it is from 1987, and it's called With Nail and I. Have you heard of this film?
I know the name actually, but I don't know anything about. Maybe if I heard a couple things about it, I'd be like, that's right. But it sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's an old.
Why do
It's
I-
a here. Yeah, 1987. It has. Oh, what's his name? What's his name? From I should have pulled this up already. I'm so sorry. It's the the guy who I know from Richard E. Grant. Who I was like,
okay.
I know him from the Spice Girls, the Spice World movie.
Oh my god. Yeah.
But obviously he's like, like really famous British actor, and this is like a cult classic type film in England, kind of a buddy, not like a buddy comedy, but it's about two friends, and yeah, it's like a cult classic type movie, 1987 with Nail and I. That's my choice.
All right, we're still in the 80s.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm interested. It seems I watched the beginning of a trailer and I was like, actually, I don't need to see anymore. I'm already sold. So, yeah, that's my pick.
You made me think, actually. I forgot to mention, there's a couple 80s things I wanted to mention throughout this episode that I forgot. So while we're in the 80s section, I read that Diesel and Dust, Rolling Stone gave the best album of 1988, which I thought was interesting. But this movie,
a pretty stacked year too, I feel like. Maybe not.
Wrath of Khan, you can find a lot of information. Like there's AV Club articles about like the development. We talked about special effects, but also this was in the time period of like multiplexes and like AMC and stuff being built up, and so this is in that era. It's like along with Jaws and Star Wars of like creating like our current situation, that we're in. But it's also just known as this summer 1983 has like a lot of great or like noteworthy movies that came out. So I do have just a sort of a selection of some of the movies. Let's see. There's Blade Runner, Conan the Barbarian, E.T., Rocky 3, The Secret of Nim, The Thing, The Road Warrior, and Tron all came out like this summer.
Jesus, what a great time to be watching flicks. That's so awesome.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High,
Damn.
Annie. An Officer and a Gentleman. Yeah.
I feel like I'm watching the Nintendo Direct. There's something for everybody here.
Yeah. 1983 has movies.
Yeah, it has movies and something for the whole family. That's awesome.
So anyway, McKenna, any for our movies that whip audience, and you got a movie recommendation?
Not to put you on the spot.
Never mind.
Just any movie that.
I just thought, you had the audience,
Yeah, you have a captive audience. What movie do you want to impart upon us?
Oh gosh. What have we watched recently?
Things for podcasts.
Yeah,
mainly.
I'm trying to think of like we watched all these things for podcasts. I'm like, when was the last movie I watched that was just
for fun?
Just for fun.
Just to enjoy yourself. Well, even the ones we watched for fun, we ended up talking about.
Yeah,
it's like The Lighthouse.
The last movie I watched
my
for
mind
fun
is like blank.
Was Wizard of Oz, which obviously whips ass. And if anyone hasn't seen it recently, I know we've all seen it. We all know what it is. It like isn't even a movie at this point. It's just part of culture. But that movie fucking owns, and it's so good. And that's not just because I love Judy Garland, because I do.
No, of course.
I would like to
fucking
watch.
Crazy.
I don't think I've watched anything else Judy Garland is in.
Ooh, all right.
I need to do that.
Challenge accepted.
We did on my old Star Trek podcast the Judgment at Nuremberg movie, and William Shatner actually has a small-ish role in it, and Judy Garland is and in a weird role too. That's like late career for her. Yeah, very William Shatner, Judy Garland, like not. Yeah, it's weird, but
I wouldn't be surprised if they like slept together at some point for reasons unbeknownst to everyone.
All right, my fanfic will begin now.
Yeah. My favorite Judy movie is A Star Is Born. from 1957, 1960, something like that. That's my favorite Judy flick.
Yeah.
It's great.
I
Yeah,
wanna
late career
watch
Judy.
all of those.
Nice.
All of the
The Star is Born simultaneously.
all of them.
See where they line up.
Yeah, we can put one on the CRTV, put one on the main TV.
Oh yeah.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, I got something to show you after we're done, Adrielle. Let's get out of here so I can just show you it.
Listen, thank you, Goo. Thank you, McKenna. We love you. It's starting to get warm out there.
Yeah, stay cool, everybody.
Stay cool.